So good morning, everyone, and we are starting our day with a very generic session on mobile operating systems, platform, adoption trends that we have been seeing in Endeavour, and what are the things that before we begin on to mobility as such, things to be considered at the core of mobility initiatives. So what I'm going to cover today is basically we will talk through some of the mobile operating systems, platforms. We will talk about some of the adoption trends. We will talk about some interesting facts about mobile smartphones, how they have been being used, and what is actually driving this revolution in the industry. We will also talk about two important concepts in the mobility which are discussed very often, which is MDM and MEP. MDM is mobile device management, and MEP is enterprise application platforms. And then we will also talk about cross-platform application development frameworks, which is basically we are seeing the shift between doing a native application towards the hybrid applications, and how they both still sit together, and kind of things that we should be thinking about. With this, we will start with this session, and I request all of you that at any point of time, if you have any questions or anything that you would like to go in detail about any point, feel free to raise your hands and we will get over it. More the interactive session we have, we will share more knowledge, and sharing knowledge being the single most agenda of today, we would be more than happy to answer your questions. So basically, if you look at it, as Avinash told, that in our journey we have seen that budgets used to come from initiatives or cool innovation kind of things that used to happen in the organization. But today, if you look at it, things have completely changed. Mobility is no more something that you would say, I want to have it. It is something that it is needed. It's regardless of whether you do it or not, today or tomorrow, you have to do it, and sooner the better. Earlier, it used to be it's good to have a mobile application that does something, maybe just some contact information or address book or things like that. But today, if you look at it, mobility is something that is sitting at the core, and a lot of applications and a lot of business processes are revolving around it. So in a way, the floodgates are open. Now it's only the matter of whether we are going to ride the wave or we are going to stay behind in the wave. If you look at it, still people, some of them, when thinking about it, we only look at do we have a mobile application? Or we look at it, do we have a mobile website? Instead of earlier we used to have in a .com era, do we have a website? Now people talk about, do we have a mobile web? Do we have a mobile application? But then again, mobility is not just that. Mobility is much beyond that. If you look at some of the trends, what we used to have earlier in terms of technology and what we have today, the mobility strategy as a whole for the entire enterprise, having a good roadmap and the vision being put forward to be able to consider all these changing devices, operating systems, and platforms is going to be a key. And that is what we are actually talking here about. If you look at some of the trends, in terms of operating systems and in terms of devices being sold, you would see Android and iOS are actually leading the pack. There is no secret in there. Everyone knows about this. But if you look at it, the number of applications that you have on both the app stores and the number of applications that you have on other app stores, to begin with, there used to be a differentiation saying that we have more number of applications on this app store compared to other app store. But if you look at it, all the basic applications that as an user, end user, a consumer, not an enterprise user, you have everything covered in there. But if you look at it from an enterprise perspective, you still do not have all the applications that an enterprise user needs. Say, for example, your business processes, maybe it is something related to the HR processes or a sales process or a marketing process or whatever you have related to order tracking, inventory, or all of them. Not everything is still mobilized. So that is something that we need to look at. Another thing is that if you just look at one of the paradigm shift that, as Avinash told in the beginning, that mobiles are getting more traction because we see mobiles being used every now and then. Now you would be maybe we are one of them, that we keep our mobile phones near our pillow even while we are sleeping, right? That is the closest thing that we have all the time with us. That is the kind of penetration we have of these mobile devices into our lives. We don't even depart from them. I know some people, they take it early in the morning with all the whatever they are doing throughout the day. Phone is the one that they are carrying all the time. That is the kind of penetration that we have. So if you look at it, that usage of mobile phone is actually driving the actual adoption. Many of you, while sitting here in the conference, might be still looking at your emails, might be still looking at some of the approvals or things that you need to make sure that you are still working and you still have your team accessing you at all the time. That is the power of mobility. And if you look at it, the way the numbers have increased in terms of adoption, in terms of number of users, in terms of applications and all that, the social networks are driving the adoption. You may be like, if you look at your own smartphones, you are using your Facebook, Twitter, news feeds, RSS feeds that you generally configure, and emails most of the times. All other applications that you would look at it, maybe you are using it only for the reason when you need them. Like, so for example, now you know everything, all the research has been done, now you want to just book the tickets. You know what pictures and everything. You're not looking at like reviews of the movie and things like that. You just want the movie ticket. So quick second, 30 seconds that you need, launch the application, get the ticket, done. That is the trend. If you look at it, the shopping and kind of trends that we see in the market, mobile shopping, buying on the mobile is increasing compared to buying on the desktop web applications. So when we are looking at enabling certain key features of the business or processes, this is the main thing that we need to consider to mobilize the area of a solution that helps you drive the sale. If you look at like some of the facts here that I have on the screen is like use of mobile web has almost surpassed the use of desktop web. And you might be knowing that just a couple of weeks ago, smartphones or smart devices have gotten into a billion club. So we have 1 billion or more than 1 billion smartphone devices. So those many users, you are actually looking at it. So from an enterprise perspective, you have all kinds of operating systems and platforms to tackle with. If you just look at like some of the interesting facts that of a global market share that we got it from one of our partners is basically Android phones are kind of like more than half covered into the entire globe, followed by iOS devices. But if you look at this, Android devices still have a lot of fragmentation, like a lot of manufacturer variations. You see a lot of operating system version variations that you have. In terms of iOS, until some time before, there were not many variations. Now you have like, of course, 4-inch iPhone, 5-inch iPhone, and iPad mini and iPad, maybe probably the same way, with some differences, of course. But if you look at it, iOS as a single operating system with the similar kind of versions, having more adoption rates of upgrading their operating systems to the latest one, iOS has a better adoption rate among all kinds of users, like enterprise as well as consumer and all of them compared to the Android users. So if you look at it, like some of the trends that we have, like the amount of internet traffic that comes from phones, iPhones is like little larger than Android phones. Compared to the share that iPhone or iOS devices have and the share of Android devices have, iPhones have much larger penetration. The next slide that I had related to the shopping activities or m-commerce activities, if you look at it, these are some of the stats that we have about like how people use smartphone for doing shopping. Like if you see, the largest one is like taking the photo of a product and then searching for that or researching about it or searching for the store like based on the geolocation or looking at like product and pricing. There are lots of applications that have stemmed in, especially in this season for Halloween and holiday seasons, that do the comparison shopping. So that kind of applications, like say maybe taking the pictures and sending it to some places where like the analysis would come in. Like say for example, Amazon has this kind of remember me kind of features, right? So that kind of features are being used. Again, looking up by product, info by store, text or call friends, family is a very small for shopping that you just call somebody and find out like whether this, like there is somebody, some guide sitting you helping you out, that, right? And then actually making purchase is like 26% of all the users that go onto the mobile actually make a purchase. So that is a big number compared to anything that you do on the desktop and other places. Of course, you buy online from the desktop, but the way it is growing, that people are actually using smartphones to buy something ranging from $1 item, which is application itself, to almost like three-figure or four-figure purchases that they make through their smartphones. So we are talking about trends, and I would like to highlight one of the fact here, or the reality today, is that even if you are comparing all these Android, iOS and other platforms, you see there at the first place Symbian. That is the largest device base that you have today. Like the red bubble that talks about is basically total number of handset shipments since it has been launched, what is there in the market, and the blue part is actually what is in use. So if you look at it, it is still considerable compared to like your BlackBerry and other small platforms that are coming up. So if you are looking at something that has to be today, this is still the platform that you cannot ignore if your application is a consumer mobility application. So these are like kind of feature phones or Symbian-based smartphones as well. So that was one thing that I just wanted to highlight. But now, knowing all these trends and everything, if we have to embark onto the mobility, or we have to put a very good vision or a roadmap for, or a strategy for a mobility, there are lots of tough parts. Technology, of course, is an important thing, but I don't think technology is such a challenge compared to all the other things that we have. Like say, for example, the way we think about our business processes. Like most of the times we have seen people just doing miniaturization of what you see on the desktop. When we have to mobilize a website, what we do is that just take left pane, put one page, take middle pane, put second page, take right pane, make third page. That is not what it is going to be. So changing the thinking, the way we look at mobility and make use of that mobility innovation is going to be a key. Apart from that, like if you look at like what kind of audience that we have, and we look at like BYOD kind of trend, like bring your own devices, so you have wide variety of devices to be supported, what kind of form factors, what kind of hardware support, what kind of connectivity support, what kind of region that you are looking at it, all of these information is going to be key. On top of that, security is something that we can implement it technically. There is no rocket science there. We can come up with a whole lot of algorithms and things like that, and we can claim it is like foolproof and all of that thing. But at the same time, the way we use our phones, we don't want to be watched at every moment. We don't want to be controlled by my IT team, like with every moment, with whatever I do and all that. I'm not comfortable. I'm comfortable today working on my mobile phone only because I have freedom. I feel I have a freedom that I can do whatever I want. When I'm working onto it, nobody's seeing my screen. That could be something that sits into my back of my mind. So how do I translate that kind of thinking when I have to couple it up with tight security, integrity, or integration with the backend systems and what I make available and things like that. So that kind of thinking would be very important. The compliance that we make for those applications and devices with the enterprise policies that we look at. And at the same time, if we look at like this emergence of cloud and these kind of technologies, how we make use of it, what we let go, where, which cloud, private, public, in-house, out of, all those things. And again, on top of that, most important thing that all of us cannot ignore is every enterprise is a unique enterprise. So everyone has a different need. There could be reasons that, like say, for as a healthcare company, I might decide I cannot give my data out into the cloud. But there could be solutions that I can set up the cloud in-house. So are we thinking about these things? Are these the possibilities that are being considered when we actually put forward for a mobility roadmap or a vision that we are looking forward to? These are the things that we wanted to look at it. With this slide, I will only give you a small brief of what mobile operating systems that we have in the market today. But again, to make a statement, iOS is the most popular operating system today, apart from Android. Android has a fragmentation, as we discussed all of them. But iOS, Android being the major part, the other two platforms that we should be actually focusing on to or looking at it as a maybe a dark horse or something like that is probably Windows 8 RT or Windows Phone 8, and at the same time BlackBerry. I'm really not sure about BlackBerry. That is my personal opinion, even though we are like premier BlackBerry partners. BlackBerry 10, they are heavily betting onto it. But then Windows could be something that could be a real hit going forward because of like lots of features that are being stuffed in and the kind of solutions or features that they have on the operating system level itself with deep integration with Office suite or solutions. That could be something a real killer. We don't know it yet. We will have to wait and watch. If we have to compare the Android, Windows Phone, Apple, iOS, and BlackBerry operating systems, from the feature list of like as an enterprise, when we look at it, the built-in security, authentication, the data protection, or the device management features, or firewall, certificates, virtualization, all of that, BlackBerry still scores very high, followed by iOS platform, and then the Android platform. Windows, we are not still seeing it so much. This is all based on the literature that they have on the website. We haven't really seen the examples of like it does that much as BlackBerry or iOS operating system does. One of the best thing about iOS operating systems is that they have got a very good sandboxing features, which is like very hard to crack in a way. Of course, there are jailbreaks available, but as a general user, it is not so easy to crack compared to Android applications. Android applications throw open a lot of stuff. Like, say, for example, if you just connect your Android phone with any computer, it just turns it into a USB drive. That's a good feature that phone supports, but at the same time, it opens one door that anything can come and sit in over here. So that kind of features and things like that, if we have to compare. With that operating system platform comparison and all the trends that we discussed, I would like to switch the gears to one of the very important platform that as an enterprise we must consider, and that is mobile device management platform. When I say mobile device management platform, MDM is basically a solution that you can put into your organization or enterprise network, which will control your devices, smartphones, tablets, computers, laptops, all alike. So you have the enterprise policies such as like password cannot be free text. It has to be like alphanumeric with symbols and things like that. Those kind of policies you can directly enforce through these solutions. So doing a remote wipe or doing a remote installation, uninstallation, or blocking a device or erasing the device or locating a device or collecting the statistics from the device that how this device has been used, which applications, or block certain applications. Like, so for example, if I'm giving the device to my employee, which is supposed to be used for work, I would probably only open up Safari, not YouTube and all the other applications. Or maybe I will just block all other chat applications and just keep live my link or something like that. So those kind of policies that whatever enterprises have gotten, the one way of implementing it, the way you would like to have your computers control is MDM. And there are lots of MDM solutions in the market, Sybase, AirWatch, Boxstone, and all of them. And on the right side, what I have here is the Magic Quadrant from latest Gartner report. And there is a comparison between the Magic Quadrants that we had in 2011 and the Magic Quadrant from 2012. If you look at it, this is more like somebody is taking the gun and shooting at the bullseye and missing all the hit targets, right? You have got lots of them. But now the way mobile platforms are evolving and making the support available for the MDM solutions to utilize those security features into the solution, you see only some of them are actually able to keep up the pace. Like, say, for example, Mobile Iron, AirWatch, or FiberLink, Zenprise, or Good Technology. Good Technology is the only one which was like kind of leader in the 2011, has been able to still maintain its quadrant, but it is falling short. And if you see, there are some new players that are coming up. So if you look at it, MDM space is like pretty much getting cleaned up, and only the best of the industry are going to sustain there, unless and until something drastically different happens and people come up with different kind of solutions, or somebody from this part, the lower left quadrant, jumps into the right one. You won't see much changes. But the way MDM solutions are there today, a lot of support, security, and things like that are already implemented. And in the next session, Ajay and Dwarak will also talk about like what kind of MDM features that you would look at it. But if I would be a person who makes the decision about which MDM solutions to be taken, I would actually look at like these parameters, like whether it supports multiple devices, whether it supports policy enforcement, whatever I have in my organization has to be extended, all the security and compliance, all of the containerization in the sense like when you have the application is very well walled onto your device so that there is a very less leak going out of your application, or absolutely zero leakage going out of your application. So how do you protect your application in a container and in a sandbox, encrypting or whatever mechanism that you need to implement there? Or looking at like inventory management, like say for example, whether my devices are getting tracked because of geography changes or because of cell coverage changes, or maybe looking at like who is using 3G data, who is using Wi-Fi data, or maybe pushing my VPN settings or connectivity settings or network settings to the device remotely so that user doesn't have to worry about any of these things and directly the things come and sit in there. Or if I have to look at it like distribution of software, like so for example, there is a new application we have come up. We don't want to call like what we used to do earlier, get your laptop and IT team will install the application. No, that is no more the requirement. It's just over there, you push the application to the device and it has to go there. That needs to be supported. Again, administration and reporting of like all the events that are happening onto the device. IT services management, overall supporting of the application, and basically the delivery model, whether you are ready to invest into the MDM solution by hosting the MDM solution or installing MDM solution inside your enterprise, Or there are players like AirWatch, which will give you a cloud solution, like as a subscription, you just get the subscription, and based on the number of devices to be supported, they will charge you. So you don't have to invest onto that. So you have both of them. Based on what is your goal, you can look at these things. And these are like some of the ratings that, looking at these parameters, this is basically taken from Gartner, and these are the parameters that we generally recommend whenever we have to choose the MDM solution. That we wanted to touch base upon is mobile enterprise application platforms, MEAPs. Basically, the way MEAPs came into existence, and this was a term coined by Gartner a few years ago, was there was a need for middleware integration. Like you have mobile applications, but no mobile application is powerful enough unless and until it connects to a heterogeneous backend sources. So a tool or a platform that allows you connect with the backend systems with all kind of connectivities, like could be web services, could be SAP, could be Oracle, could be anything of that. So a tool that allows you to make those connections and work or make your business solutions work onto your devices seamlessly is what basically MEAP is. And then there are some of the leaders in MEAP solutions like Sybase SUP. We used it into some of the largest implementations in healthcare segment, and there is a Gartner Magic Quadrant, and much like MDM, I have two different Magic Quadrants being compared from 2011 to 2012, and this is exactly opposite to what MDM was more like a matured, that was getting from more crowded to less crowded space. But now if you look at it, there is less crowded space, that there were very less MEAPs, and now if you look at it, there are so many MEAPs, because now so many people are coming up with their MEAP solutions, and there are some of the MEAP solutions that actually do not really qualify to be called as MEAP solutions, but they call themselves as MEAP solution, and they have been still rated by Gartner, and they are there in the report. The fact that you will see here is basically the way operating systems are evolving. Every 6 to 9 months there is a new version coming up, and for MEAP to be able to keep up with those operating systems, to be able to support them, is going to be a real key challenge going forward. And that is the reason, like if somebody is there who supports only one platform or two platforms, they make way to here. If you look at the original definition of MEAP or requirement of MEAP, they say minimum 3 platforms must be supported. But then there are some of the players here, they don't even have a real MEAP that as good as define what SUP does or what Cyclo or Antenna does. Even Antenna has a MEAP which is like not a real MEAP, but lots of things taken from places, and they have a collection of libraries that if I want to call it as. So that kind of things. That is the basic thing. But if you look at it, there is one very important trend that I want to highlight upon is basically you have a MEAP, and now there is a new term that we would like to use here, that is MADP, which is like Mobile Application Development Platform. Because if you look at the trend, and this I discussed with one of our friends in the morning as well, is basically MEAP has been only being used to do a faster development for your phones. You get your connectivity, your security, your basic authentication routines and everything ready-made through the MEAP. So your application development becomes faster. But what MEAP is supposed to do is that it is an enterprise application platform. Biggest deal is connecting to SAP, Oracle, and lots of other small business application or large applications that you have in the backend. But now if you look at it, people use MEAP, but still end up doing custom middleware. Like say for example, you have some applications that was built like on your like it's a homegrown system. You have your own interfaces. It's not complying to some sort of like generic interface requirements or like SOAP services or JSON services or RESTful services or something like that. This is something that you need to anyway develop it. So when you are developing those interfaces, you say, if I'm developing these interfaces, let's target it to the mobile. So you got one-to-one connection anyway. So that is kind of like custom middleware that you are anyway building. But you are still using MEAP, because MEAP is still going to be helpful for developing that faster development onto your application layer. And these are the kind of transitions that we are seeing, and if I have to again go a step further, that actually should be a cross-platform application frameworks. So another thing is that in connection with our native applications and web applications and hybrid applications that we discussed, one other important fact that as a technology team or as a mobility roadmap we must consider is what kind of platforms and application tools that we will use. There are some of these cross-platform application development frameworks that are available. Basically, they're motto is like you do it once and deploy it on multiple devices. That is where the intention these platforms are developed. But then if you look at it, a lot of solutions are dependent on HTML5 kind of technologies. And the way HTML5 is growing is like it's still the specifications are not free. Everyone talks about HTML5 and everything, but the actual a blueprint of the HTML5 specifications would come out somewhere around like 2018 or 2020. By that time, you don't know whether these devices will still be there or something else will come up. So that is the big challenge that you have. But still, if you look at it, those HTML5 based tools, if you look at it, they allow a lot of generalization. And that is when, like, one of the points that we were discussing earlier, that people still look at like applications and all that, because the way developers develop the applications, they try to hit onto multiple device families or multiple operating systems and end up doing generalization. When you do the generalization, it is not the same measurement stick that will work on every device and everything, because every device has got their own way of being used for a specific user, and people still expect that experience and that kind of behavior from your application. Your application cannot be an intruder or some sort of like guest onto that particular platform, and that's something that again Hitesh will also talk about, like when we develop that UX, how that UX has to be uniform from device to device or device agnostic, if we have to call it. Those are the things that are very important. As a platform, as a tool, there are lots of them. Like the things that have been like most popular recently is like Titanium by Accelerator, PhoneGap, and Sencha. But then there are lots of them. This is where we would like to stop here. And if any questions, we will take it, or otherwise, I'm really thankful for contributing and making this session really interactive. And of course, after this session, we will again continue these discussions into our tea breaks and lunch breaks. And with that, over to you, Nidhi. Thank you.